Namaste everyone, this is Rachel and I would just like to welcome you to this 200-hour teacher training course with Alpha Yoga. I would just like to take a moment to introduce myself and to introduce the topics on this course where you will see my face the most. So I am actually from the United States and I have been teaching yoga for about 14 years now and teaching on teacher trainings for the last 9 years or so. So I lost count after a while, but I think that I've taught around 30 courses, over 30 courses, and trained over 1,000 teachers, more or less. So I'm excited that you will be in that category of teachers and teacher trainees as we open this course. So whether you're here online for the entire course or whether you're starting with online and we'll see you in real life sometime soon, we would just like to say thank you, and we're excited that you're starting this journey for yourself. You will see me mostly teaching Vinyasa flow classes. You'll see me for alignment classes, going through each of the poses, breaking down those postures, talking about misalignments, props that we can use, modifications for beginners, variations for more advanced students. And you'll also see me in teaching methodology and just a very little bit in the anatomy section as well. So just a little bit about myself and my yoga journey. I started yoga, actually the first class that I took ever in my life was when I was 15, and I hated yoga, I hated it. So at the time I was dancing 4 to 5 hours a day, and it was included as part of our curriculum. So I don't really remember much about it, except I remember it being quite a very slow Hatha style class. I remember doing Anulom Vilom breathing and feeling like I couldn't breathe or get enough air. So it was very slow, maybe too slow for a teenager, and I didn't quite yet understand or have the appreciation for it in that capacity. So after that experience, it took me about 6 more years to try yoga again, and that was at the end of my university years. So I started trying it and going with friends, and then really what got me connected into the practice were my teachers. So when you yourselves think about why you're doing this course, probably at least 1 or 2 of your own teachers comes to mind. So as soon as you find that person or a few people that really help you understand the practice, understand the philosophy, then you get very excited to practice. You get excited to step onto your mat and to know more about the techniques as well as just investigating about yourself. So when I started and I found my teachers, then it really got me into the practice of yoga. And since then, it's been progression and evolution and continuing to learn more and more about this ancient tradition and techniques. So I always say, for me personally, when I do any course, as I continue my own education, anytime that I take a course, I always finish that course and feel like I don't know anything, which is counterintuitive, I realize, but we realize as soon as we start to learn more, we realize how vast the knowledge and wisdom is out there. So as soon as you start to delve a little bit deeper into these topics, you might have a sensation of feeling overwhelmed at points, and that's absolutely normal. I would say as a teacher, I would much rather my students feel overwhelmed than underwhelmed. If you don't feel like you're learning anything, then it doesn't feel very great in any discipline. So as you embark on this course, there will be times you have a little bit more freedom to do these things in your own timing than you would on an intensive on-site training. So study the things as you need, when you need, figure out your own rhythm and your own schedule, figure out what works for you, especially if you're balancing this with a work life or a family life. Take those things into consideration, but really try to dedicate some time to yourself for this course, as this is why you've started it in the first place, one of the reasons. My background is mostly in Vinyasa flow, very dynamic Vinyasa flow, a little bit of Baptiste influence, a little bit of Rocket influence, Ashtanga influence. So you'll see those elements in the Vinyasa classes that I'm teaching. We'll do some very dynamic practices. We'll also do some slow flow practices. So the way that I've structured the Vinyasa classes, there are some very more intermediate advanced practices, and that's for your own personal practice. And then there are some other shorter sequences just to have an idea of how we modify the class structure, as well as classes that are meant as a teaching tool. So how do I teach a beginner class with props? How do I teach an open level beginner student and with advanced student class? So those classes will also be interspersed in some of the classes that are meant for your own practice and your own technique training. My background is coming from 20 years of contemporary dance training. So I've always been very interested in movement and very functional movement and how we integrate that into our daily routine and what we understand about movement within ourselves in our yoga practice and off of the mat. So I bring that into my alignment classes. If I'm teaching you anatomy, I tie that in as well. So my study of anatomy is mostly movement-based for my university studies, and I'm always happy to share more about functional movement. It's very intriguing to me, and how that ties in with what our movement is doing in our nervous system, what it's doing in the other bodily systems, and how we start to really refine postures in our own practice and within our own experience. So as we do go through our alignment sessions, please remember that there's no specific right way to do any yoga posture. What we're aiming for is the largest amount of instructions that applies to the most amount of people in our class. So always someone will not fall into those alignment instructions. So when that happens, then we have to be able to adapt and to really figure out what are we trying to gain and benefit from a posture, so that we can allow someone to do it slightly differently in their own body, in their own way, that still allows them to achieve those benefits. So you'll see this in the alignment sessions that we do together, as well as in the anatomy sessions that I will be guiding you through as well. So very glad to have you here. We look forward to working with you, and welcome to Alpha Yoga School.